Welcome to this episode of Home Based Business 101. I'm Meredith Banka, your host and the founder of Side Gig Gurus. And today I have with me Heidi Fossali, and she is the Midlife Reboot Coach. How are you doing today, Heidi?
Super great. I'm so glad to be here.
Yeah, thank you so much. And I should say that I'm tuning in from the West Coast of the US, and Heidi is actually in Southern France. So we've been able to put this together, and we were just having a chat about how cool it is that as women, we can work this way. You know, this is 9 a.m. in the morning for me. The kids are just off to school. I'm just starting my day, and you're just kind of wrapping yours. But thanks to technology and social media, we're able to create this incredible environment for ourselves.
So cool. I mean, and it's just this new way of functioning, isn't it? I mean, and it can be adapted to anyone, anything, anytime. I mean, it's a new world. I mean, yeah.
It is. It's so exciting. I mean, they say now that for young people going, through university and such, that only about 2 of the 10 jobs that they may have are actually predictable, that they're most of the things, the work that they'll end up doing doesn't even exist yet. And that blows my mind. But at the same time, it doesn't, because I mean, did you ever think when you were in your 20s that you would be doing what you're doing today?
No, of course not. Not in a million. No.
Never. So tell us a little bit about what you do, your story, how you came to be really an entrepreneur, running a business from wherever you choose to be.
Yes. Well, I'm in Cannes in the south of France. So the product is I'm a midlife reboot coach, which means I'm a certified life coach, certified personal trainer, went to fashion college, so do fashion, personal styling, and also went to hair and beauty college, so I do beauty, skin, makeup. So I do this full top to toe, left to right, A to Z reboot for women who feel stuck in the middle of their life. It is for that 40 plus woman who seems to have lost her footing. She's vibrant, she's intelligent, but she just needs to decide what the next phase is, whether her children have grown, whether she just feels a little bit lack of purpose, even though as a mother, these are all things that we love, but sometimes it's got to be our turn again. We get to the bottom of our to-do list, and sometimes you just need a little trigger, a little push, just for something to make you reconnect with your brilliance, reconnect with that woman you might have left behind. So I'm all about helping women to do that and just create a great second act or next phase, journey to get here. Well, it's not the most straightforward.
Is it ever though? I mean, is the journey
never? To be honest, I was forced into this, which makes it interesting on another level. But it takes all kinds of situations to become an entrepreneur. And this is why perhaps sharing mine might just give another spin. So I got divorced. I was married for 12 years, got divorced 14 years ago. I was living in Los Angeles with my French husband. He's from the south of France. I met him in the south of France, and we moved to Los Angeles for his job. 2 children who are now grown, 24 and 22. But it was when they were 6 and 4, we decided to come back to Europe, which was a really difficult decision. We came back. There were cracks in my marriage, I must say, when we were in the US. But when I got here without the language, I didn't speak French, no posse around me. My girlfriends weren't here. I didn't know anyone here, his family, but I didn't really know them. So I found myself really vulnerable and kind of lonely. So of course went and looked after the girls and my children, and that was fine. But after 3 more years, I really decided that, I wasn't going to reach my potential in this marriage. I wasn't feeling valuable and appreciated. And I just knew that I wouldn't have the life that I wanted or I wanted for my children. So it took me a long time, because I come from a very solid family. So my belief systems were holding me back. My belief systems were making me stay and making me zip it up, and just get on with it. Mom and dad married for 63 years. I'm one of 5 children, everybody. So it was difficult. Finally did. And I was on my own then, into the unknown on my own with my 2 little girls, which was very scary.
In a foreign country that's not your native language.
Not my native language. Couldn't get a job. There lies the entrepreneur, you see. Couldn't get a job in the country where I didn't speak the language. No money, nowhere to live. Off I go. And what one must do in that situation is
Mm-hmm.
tap back in to your natural talents, the things that you're really good at, your strengths. So you have to think about that. So that's what I did. And I knew that, first of all, I could do all the makeup and skin and bodies and everything. At that time, I wasn't a life coach. This was, like I say, back about 12, 14 years ago. So I knew how to do all this sort of outside stuff. So I did. I found a way, connected with international people. There was an agency here. And anyway, so I hustled and I got on with it. And suddenly I had a lifestyle beauty consultancy because I knew my talents, I knew what I could do, and communication was a strength. Inspiration, motivation, those words, you know, I was always looking after my body. So it sort of inspired people to do the same. You know, so I was working with different people, photographers and models and fitness. And then about 5 years ago, I decided that this sort of shiny surface of Heidi, which I've always rolled with and always worked for me, for sure, I needed a little extra. I think there was a whole nother layer of brilliance that Heidi hadn't tapped into. And I must have tapped or ticked or clicked on a link somewhere back in the day. And I suddenly started getting all this information about this life coach program. It was a year program. It was pretty intense. I had to fly to London a few times for weekends. Anyway, it wasn't the right time for another 2 years. I was too busy. I didn't have enough money. I was on my own with the girls, trying to keep it together. Finally, I did my life coaching, and that just opened up. Well, first of all, you can't help others until you've done your own deep dive, to even your own self-discovery. So you know what? A whole new version of. So now that inner work that I did on myself has helped me and helps me every day, because I can do that with my clients. And that is the first block of 3 blocks, but it's actually a 4-month program I have. But the blocks are mindset, you know, no use putting lipstick on you if you don't really like yourself. Who are you? What do you want? What's holding you back? You know, what are you prepared to do to get it? And what needs changing? And then we just move into, once we get that sorted and you're feeling more confident, you've got some self-belief and self-worth, then we tap into the body, because suddenly in those middle years, you sort of haven't been taking as good care. So then we tap into the health and diet and nutrition and, you know, sort of metabolism and menopause and what one has to do in that arena. And then when we get to the 3rd phase, or the end of the 4-month program, it's all about the outside, you know, having a great, versatile, practical wardrobe for clothes that suit you, personality, your lifestyle, you know, your body shape. And also just keeping it capsule, keeping it simple, and then great skin. You know, I've got the best products I recommend, and makeup, simple, 5 steps to fabulous, 5 products, 5 minutes, 5 steps, keeping it simple. And then you sort of reinvented. You've had the Heidi reboot. You know, it's revitalized and reboot. You know, it's this. So my entrepreneurship came through, you know, a situation that was very frightening, but you know what? Sometimes the universe pushes you to find your niche, pushes you onto the path, into the lane that you're supposed to be in. If it had been safe and I could touch the walls of my house, maybe I wouldn't have been pushed. Maybe I would have been. And also, I wanted to make sure that I was being a really great example of independence and female strength to my daughters. Remember, I had girls. So, you know, that freedom and that freedom of choice. You don't have to stay if you're unhappy. You don't have to keep quiet if you've got something to say. So, you know, they've seen me sweating, you know, many a night I woke up in a pool of sweat, my hair sticking to my face, you know, just with fear in my chest, because I was frightened. I was on my own. It was so scary. And no safety net.
Right.
Or at the bottom of my bed praying for a rope, for someone to put me out, for that guardian angel to come and sort of say, you know, it's going to be fine. So it's been really tough, and the tunnel was long, but what came out of it was this real skill and know-how and knowledge and experience to help those women, because there's a lot of them out there who feel the same way. And I'm only a couple of steps ahead. I'm on the ground running. I'm not on a hill looking down at these poor ladies. Oh, poor you. No. I did it. I speak, I walk my walk, I talk my talk. Whatever I tell you, I do. Mm-hmm. So that's entrepreneurship for me.
And I love some of the words that you're using in this. I mean, even the concept of reinventing, because I think that we have ingrained in us. I mean, and I think this is a global piece of kind of education and where women are held societally, but we don't necessarily encourage women to believe that it's okay that they reinvent. You're supposed to be in this role, and the role is defined, and that's the role that you're supposed to serve for your life. And then all of a sudden circumstances change, maybe, because of choice, like in your case, or maybe in some other cases not. And you find yourself in a position, you've lost a job, you've lost a marriage, maybe you've lost a spouse, maybe you've moved, maybe finances have changed. And all of a sudden you're in a position where you must do something different.
Yes. They say there are three things. Either you are bored and you're stuck. That's one reason for change. You've learned a new skill and you want to use it. That's change. Or pain. You're in pain and you need to get out. So I would say that those would be the three reasons. And, but it's scary. Change is not easy.
No, not at all. Not at all. And this last 18 months or so, again, around the world has been so tough for everyone in so many different aspects.
Yes.
But we're seeing so many more people, not just women, but people saying, I don't want to go back. I've had this, I don't want to go back to my life the way that it was. I don't want to go back to the job the way that it was. But what would I do? What would I do?
Yes.
How could I do? I don't know what I would do. I don't know what kind of business I would start.
Who am I?
I don't have a skill.
Yes.
And I think your story and mine is similar as well. How did I step into being a marketing coach? How did I step into helping people really understand how to develop a business and how to share it from their heart with intentions that's aligned with their values? Sure. Well, because I was in the same position. I didn't want to work in the corporate world anymore. There was pain there for me, and I didn't want to do it anymore. So I left with not a clue of what I was going to do. Not a clue. I just knew it wasn't that. And, I just said, forget it. I'm done. My children are too important. My marriage isn't too important. My life is too important for me to keep living this way. I'm out. Yes. And it was at the same time that it was incredibly frightening to, pack that box and walk out of a building after, almost 15 years of going and knowing exactly what I was going to do every day. Comfort comes in that, right? Knowing what you're going to do every day.
Predictability. Yeah.
Predictability, right? You get into that kind of zone and you don't have to think about how to show up. You just show up, right? And that was great, and it was scary to leave. But at the same time, there was a little piece of me that was like, this is the best thing ever. Like there was a calm deep within me that knew that it would be okay. Yes. And so I think to women and men that are listening to this episode of the podcast, and they're saying to themselves, oh, I wish I was as brave as you, Heidi. I wish I had the courage that you have, Meredith. I think that they do. I think that everyone has that. And I think it's a matter of just deciding. And sometimes it's because there isn't anything else to do. I mean, like you said, you were forced, you had no choice.
Yes. And it wasn't the absence of fear that gave me the courage. Oh, fear was right between my eyes, but it was almost forced upon me. And I just think that women have to remember that, start with a side hustle. Don't think you've got to, burn the bridge, because that's really hard. If you're good, if you love flowers or gardening, how about just sort of, your friend's wedding? Do the flowers for your friend's wedding. Suddenly you might love it. You go back to work on Monday and you've had a great weekend. You never know what might happen. Maybe one day you'll have a flower shop. You never know. Right. But do small steps. Don't think that you have to jump and hope you can sink or swim. No.
And don't say yes to the first thing that may come your way. Like, it's okay to explore. It's okay to look at
curiosity.
Yes. It's okay to figure out what you may or may not like. I think it's also really good to ask yourself, what am I, like you said in the beginning, what were you naturally really good at?
And then share it with the world. Their lives, your purpose.
I love the question of, what would you do every day for free? What would you do for the rest of your life for free without being worried about being paid?
And you lose time when you do it.
Yeah.
Your heart sings when you do it. Yes.
And if you can figure out a way to do that and then have people pay
In
you,
service, yes.
then you're in such a beautiful place to launch, such a beautiful place to launch.
That's the best.
So now that you're looking forward, because you're talking about reinventing, you know, you've had a couple of iterations of what you were doing, starting with this beauty coaching, then stepping into life coaching, now having this multi-phase program. So what's next? How do you keep reinventing?
You know what? I have got some goals, and I've got a couple of stretch goals too, but I would like to lead a tribe. I think there are so many women out there. Yes, there's a book in me for sure. Yes, I would love to be a keynote speaker at some summit for great, fabulous women that women gather to learn and love and laugh. And so yes, keynote speaking. I would love my Heidi Reboot to be a TV show, unscripted, like Queer Eye for Straight Guy, you know, love Queer Eye. And I think that with the life coaching and the fitness and the beauty and the style, that is because, like you just touched on, you know, we're all looking at life differently now. And I think the world is ripe for a reinvention show. So the dream is that for sure. And I've actually got the script, I've got it all, you know, the deck and everything. I just need to find the production company.
Sure.
But yeah, so TV, book, speaking, those are my three biggies right now. And yeah.
And what I want to explore with you around that is that you don't right now know exactly how they will come to be.
No, not a clue.
No, not a clue. And you're okay with that.
Yes. And they say it's like a flashlight. The light only sees so far. So you just keep going as far. So, you know, and somehow if you're on the right track, in the right lane, it sort of opens up. I don't know, the right people, something happens. I don't know if it's been like that for me and it seems to continue. And I think it's like that for most people. The universe is pretty clever. You get messages, don't you?
You for sure do. You for sure do. And I wanted to ask you that question specifically for those listeners who are kind of at the edge of the pool. They have the idea, they know what it is. Maybe the flashlight is right there in their hand, but they just haven't clicked it on yet, or they haven't, you know, they're kind of putting their toe into the water. They haven't put, I like to refer to, did you know the game, the hokey pokey?
Yes.
Okay, so it's kind of like the hokey pokey, you know, at first you put your right arm in and then you put your right arm out, but then you get to the point where you need to put your whole self in.
Yes, I love that.
I think it's so motivating that, because you've been doing the work that you've been doing now for over a decade, right? In some fashion.
Yes.
So a woman who is successful, who built a business, who, you know, had the courage to leave a marriage that wasn't serving her, and, you know, accepted the fear and all of the uncertainty of starting this business and doing all these things, 10 years in, still has uncertainty in her life and business, because she has a vision, because you have vision and you have a place that you want to go. And you've gotten to the point where you're comfortable with the uncertainty. There's a knowingness that if you keep on the path, it will continue to happen. And I think that as entrepreneurs, especially new entrepreneurs, they want to have all the answers to all the questions. They want to know exactly how everything's going to work. They want 100% predictability. And it's okay to move forward in uncertainty. Actually, I think it's a necessity.
As an entrepreneur, it is, yes.
For sure.
Because creativity is not predictable. Creativity, which is what you are doing as an entrepreneur, whatever you're doing, you're creating something, has to have free flow, you know? The upside is the upside is the freedom. The downside is the uncertainty, if you look at it as a downside. The upside will always be freedom. And I think that's the biggest word that I can come up with as to why to do it. You know, whether it's financial freedom, you know, location freedom, you know, there are different words for freedom, but freedom is the word. There are many other words that make you frightened, you know, unpredictability, you know, the uncertainty, you know, those words but that sort of fires you up. There's no going, you know, keep your eyes forward. That's the way you're going. Don't look back. That's not the way you're going. You know, keep going. And, you know, just again, always remember, just go back to what you're really good at. And then you'll never work a day. You know that saying. And also, you know, the right things will come to you because you know you're doing what you're meant to be doing. So that's the first thing I do with my clients is, who are you? You know, I am. There's lots of I ams to start with. And, you know, once you start, you're like, God, look at me. And you look at that piece of paper and you feel pretty damn good. And it's such a great place to start.
It is. And I think we lose sight of that, you know, as family, as women, we, you know, maybe we're married or not, but we have children. And if you go to the path of having children, you really do put them first. And culturally, and you want to. And culturally, we're also kind of taught to put everybody else first. And whether you have kids or you don't have kids, that's a pretty modern day accepted, you know, role for women, is that we serve in this way. But if we aren't serving ourselves at the same time, then it's difficult to be in a position where we can serve others. And that's a key piece of the mindset of the entrepreneur to me as well. You know, I recommend in the programs that I work in that everyone have I call it a morning formula, something that you do each day that is grounding you in your principles, your affirmations, your values, where you're headed. This could be a meditation. It could be a document that you've written. It could be, you know, your favorite quotes from some, you know, authors or, you know, people that motivate you. But even if it's just 5 to 10 minutes a day where you're saying to yourself, I'm going to ground myself in my purpose, in my worth, in remind myself of the important work that I know that I'm here to do. Even if I don't know exactly how it's going to unfold in the future, that's okay. I'm going to remind myself of who I am and what I am here to do. And that little exercise creates such a massive shift in people. I have a group of women in a group coaching program right now, and we have a WhatsApp chat, and we've come to call the morning formula the MF, which has a whole lot of, you know, kind of funny overtones, right? So I wake up in the morning and I have these women in the group saying, I got my MF done, you know, and it's just very, very funny, but it's a great way for accountability as well. But the shift in literally just a matter of days. So I love that you start with mindset.
The quiet, the centering, and you realize how many layers you have, you know?
So important. So important as we're setting goals and doing those things as well. And I think you may have frozen up on me here in the Zoom here for a second. So hopefully you'll be jumping back in and the Zoom will reconnect. That's one of the dangers of working globally with Zoom and things along those lines, is that sometimes we can lose our connections. So I think we may have unfortunately lost Heidi here for a second at the end of our episode today. But what I will tell you is that if you want to find Heidi online, if you've enjoyed the conversation today, if you're curious about her work, you can actually find her at HeidiRebootCoach.com. So if you just search for that, HeidiRebootCoach.com, I believe is her web address, but you can also find Heidi Fossali on Facebook as well. And that's where you'll be able to connect with her, move forward with her, and understand exactly how she can continue to serve you if you've enjoyed this episode today. For me, it's Meredith Banka, and I am the host here of Home-Based Business 101 and also the founder of Psychic Gurus. You can always find me on Facebook or on my website, meredithbanka.com. It's been a pleasure being here with all of you today, and I look forward to seeing you on the next episode. Take care, everybody.